Thank you. Hello, everyone. We hope you're having a wonderful day in this very hot and sunny Austin, Texas. How many of you are from Texas? Raise your hand. Oh,
Not that many.
I mean, I remember yesterday all the superheroes, but seeing your actual hands up at one time is really impactful because I don't know how you do it. I'm from Massachusetts, so I'm not wearing makeup because I tried it yesterday and it just peeled off.
You're beautiful without it.
And so with that being said, my name is Lydia Martinez Alvarez. I am a recovering assistant superintendent from Massachusetts, recently retired February 1, and then started working for Paper as the Director of Educational Leadership.
If this works, does it? Yes, you can hear me. If this works, I am lead partnership manager at Paper. My name is Devin Bratton. I was born and raised in a big square state called Colorado before I moved to Southern California, where I now reside. I came to Paper actually not from education, though school was my first love. I actually came from Hollywood. So my first career was working with writers, actors, and directors. And if you guys think that any of your stakeholders are imagine public comment when you have very big personalities and lots and lots and lots and lots of money on the line. So that's where I come from. And we're here today actually to talk about, can high-impact tutoring help drive well-being? So what we actually wanted to do is kind of have a more of a question-answer situation, but we're going to have you share in your groups. So looking at the prompt up here and talking about where you are in your own communities and your own districts with any sort of academic help, extra academic support, tutoring, before and after school, extended learning opportunities. Where are you at in your districts, either implementing, planning, or dreaming? So if you wouldn't mind, you can go ahead and share in your tables.
Before you do that, we do want to tell you we believe in well-being. And well-being is not just for the students, but also for your adults. And so we want to make sure that you go to the spa on Paper. And so if you haven't done that yet, please feel free to go ahead and book your massages, because well-being is important. If you don't take care of you, who's going to take care of the children? And so with that, please work at your tables. We'll come around. We're going to ask you to please have one report out. We're going to come around with the mic so that you can tell us what you were talking about and how you are helping the students. But remember, we're talking today about well-being for the adults, right? Your teachers. So what can we do? We'll come around with the mic. We'll give you approximately 5 minutes. We're going to stay on time, Emily, we promise. And so we'll be back in 5 minutes, and we'll be walking around in case you have any questions. Okay?
We actually have a question, which is, would anybody like to define high-impact tutoring or high-dosage tutoring? Who has a program right now that wants to share? Oh, there has to be at least one program out there. No? Not one. Lisa has one. Lisa?
To focus on a student. And so what I shared at our table, we're going to pilot a tutoring program just at one school where students will get one-on-one tutoring for 15 minutes every day with one tutor. So every student will have their own tutor. It is online where they will have to have their headphones and they can see the person on the screen. But to me, it is based on giving students what they need and making sure there's a dedicated time for that. So that's my definition, and curious about Paper's definition of HDT.
Okay, so we're going to take it over here to this table. As we go around, we are sure that we're going to get more definitions. And so that was just one example, so thank you. So ladies?
We don't have a specific example of high-dosage tutoring. We spoke mainly on different roles in the classroom, such as interventionalists or content area specialists that work directly with teachers to support struggling students. For example, one-to-one individualized instruction with students working together with the teacher. But these are additional support staff, certified support staff working with teachers.
Okay, so that's one example of well-being for your teachers, not necessarily around tutoring, but it is important to take care of all of our adults.
Marlo, did you want to say something very quickly?
Well, we're just going to go after this one. We're just going to go from table to table, so everyone will have. No, that's okay. We're going to let you take the middle.
I didn't mean to take the middle. I think we talked about, none of us were doing tutoring programs, but one of the things we talked about was how it could provide well-being for our teachers. And we talked about the unfinished learning that happened during COVID, and the idea that our teachers are now not only having to teach what they teach, but also 2 years prior in order to lead that up. And so the idea that our high-dosage tutoring or high-impact tutoring can be something that helps alleviate some of the stress of teachers. And only because I've met with Devin and Lydia before, I was telling them a story that they had told me. It's not my experience. But has anybody ever proofread a paper by a student who's struggling with writing? Anybody? Anybody know what that's like? Right? So like we were talking about the fact that we had talked about the fact that there's a district that actually has part of the process of turning in your paper is it has to run through the tutoring program first. And when the teacher gets it, you're not dealing with all the stuff that makes you crazy. So we were talking about all those things that could help.
We're going to bounce over here to this lovely table. Would anybody like to share?
My allies nominated me, but you know, God bless. Anyway. It's you know, God bless you all. Anyway, we took a little bit different slant. We talked a little bit about student tutoring and how this last year, for my example, it's been challenging because the teachers have been so overwhelmed they didn't want to do extra, and so hiring outside folks to come in and help with that was a way to help. And the you know the higher achievement we get for our students, the less stress on the classroom, you know, that sort of a thing. But we looked at when we talked about well-being. So the well-being of our adult staff, principals, teachers, everybody is the critical part of how we looked at this. So we looked at high-impact coaching for that level, and how that, you know, after you've built trust and you bring those pieces along, how we've each worked at our principal level, working at their well-being so that they can be better supports and mechanisms for their teachers at their school sites, which then addresses the teacher well-being as well. So we kind of took a little different slant on it because we're just a little different. So here we go.
Nothing wrong with being different, so it
I
makes
also
us
wanted to point out
individuals.
that was not the uniquest idea because I heard that idea over here as well. So it is obviously a common challenge right now.
Okay.
We took a little bit of a different stance because we're in the same district, and we talked through our doing and dreaming, and we were talking about what is our current state. Our current state relies heavily on the human resource of tutoring. And like you said, the well-being, our educators don't want to do it. They don't want to do it before school, and they don't want to do it after school anymore. So really thinking through what does tutoring look like on a scale within the classroom, outside of the school day, giving, because some of the kids that always need tutoring are the ones that we're pulling out of things they love. And so how do we think differently about, not, I'm going to say support, right? Different supports for students that can allow them to be engaged in the content they want to be engaged in, but possibly look at a model of within the classroom. Maybe we do tutor within the classroom through an online platform that when a teacher is not with the student, we start thinking differently about what are they doing independently so they can access some of those elective type courses that we sometimes have to pull them out of as we support. So we were doing a little, what are we gonna do in our district now with that, and how do we leverage not that human piece so that we have the well-being of our teachers as well.
We were just saying how we're struggling with any kind of tutoring in our districts. And basically what we're doing, and teachers we have iReady or iXL, and we're putting kids on platforms, but the teachers aren't invested in using the data, collecting it, looking at it to differentiate instruction. So it's just really a keep busy and keep quiet. So we're definitely struggling.
And you're going to hear more about what we do at Paper when we do our speed dating. And so more to come. So keep these comments coming. We really want to hear from you guys because you're important and so are your teachers. And so this table?
A couple of us have used a virtual tutoring company, and I'm telling you, it was money well spent. I mean, it was expensive, but the students we serve live active lives. So they're, you know, in rigorous courses, and then they're in athletics after school, and then they've got maybe community service that they're doing some way. So they need tutoring at any time that they need it. And so we found great success with secondary tutoring, and a couple of us have used different companies that the money was just gold, and great results. Our kids in my district specifically have suffered more in math loss than in English or reading. At the elementary level, we've also done some after-school programming where we've trained up paraprofessionals or childcare workers to support students who are there for extended learning opportunities. We've done summer programming. Depending on the students that we serve, we each are kind of on our own journey as it relates to that. And one of the colleagues said if we could do before and after and every, you know, they have that need in their community. So we're all taking a look at it and continue on the journey. Thank you.
Coming up here to the front, do we have anybody who wants to share here?
I was nominated. So we talked a lot about the mental health and well-being of educators, and we were talking about during COVID, there were these resources that we were able to put into play to support people who were working from home, because there were a lot of people with different challenges. So teachers who might have been older, living on their own, to teachers who had babies or young children trying to work, and all of these supports. And now we were talking about teachers and educators, principals being back in traditional school and feeling a lot of pressure, and they're very overwhelmed with all of the responsibilities and the learning loss, putting pressure on themselves. So our table just kind of was talking about that element and how challenging it is, and one, you know, of like, okay, maybe we could do a special PD, and then the teacher's like, no, I need time in my classroom. So it's trying to balance in order to support everyone within your district. So.
Ladies? My allies also nominated me, so I'm speaking for all of them. In our district, one of the things, a positive that came out of COVID was the fact that the students kind of learned how to do online learning. Whether they liked it or not, at least they understood what they were supposed to be doing, and they got comfortable with that. So oftentimes you've heard teachers say, I wish I could just split myself and clone myself, and then I could get to all my kids in the classroom. We do a lot with small group instruction and differentiation in our classrooms. So one of the things that we were looking at is using a tutoring program as one of the stations that the kids could go to. So as they, it is a way for teachers to kind of clone themselves. And if they have that conversation with the tutor beforehand, everybody knows what the objectives are, and you wind up with two teachers in the classroom. So that's one of the ways we were looking at using a tutoring program.
Thank you, that's great. Coming over here, do we have a volunteer? Do we have a nomination? Thank you.
Hi. One of the things that our table talked about, you talked about the District Wellness Committee, and I thought that was awesome. And we also talked about the challenge in staffing when you want to do these extracurricular or extra tutoring before or after school. And the challenge, we were talking about how we had to beg people to even do summer school. And one of the things and the commitment that we're making for this upcoming school year is leveraging, high impact tutoring and taking that off of teachers' plates. Looking at what we can do to get them focused on that time in the classroom and what can we take off of their plates so that they can feel successful, which then leads to that well-being.
Thank you. Ladies?
I think we all have faced the same challenges, especially with House Bill 4545. So what we were able to do with ESSER funds, we were very intentional and hired student champions to come and assist with their social-emotional learning as well as their academics. We also identified our highly effective paraprofessionals and did training with them so they could provide that tutoring, as well as hired outside tutors. But we do have a wellness department in Irving. And also with ESSER funds, we were able to hire 3 professional counselors to assist with our teachers and their mental well-being, where they did have private sessions with them, and they came and they talked. We also partnered with Sunstone Yoga, and they provided free membership for all our staff at Irving. And those teachers were super excited. So we're truly focusing on their well-being. And I know it's also their mental health. And it's something that we know it's not going to go away tomorrow or in the near future. It's always going to be there. So again, focusing on that and implemented Capturing Kids' Hearts all across, the district as well to help with that. And we're writing it into our curriculum so it happens and it doesn't just get pushed on the way, because I was more concerned about the well-being of everyone versus the academics, and it worked. Our kids did better than we thought they would, because I think if they're not well, they won't perform. And same thing for our teachers. So that's what we did.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to come over here to this table. Who's on the hot seat? We do have a paper print. Yeah, we had a ringer, but what did everybody else share? Who wants to share with the room?
Hi, everyone. Okay, what did we share? We honestly talked a little bit more about the student learning component and some of the challenges that we were running into by offering tutoring in one of our districts. We're finding that we now have openings for I don't want to call it like the general classroom instructors, because a lot of instructors went over to become specialists or tutors. And we also talked about in some of our districts how we're using college students from nearby universities, also using ESSER dollars to, on a long-term basis, attract some of those students to become teachers who are tutoring. But I think what we had in common was the use of ESSER dollars for the high-dosage tutoring, and as those dollars go away, how we would look at other sources of funding to provide tutoring. Did I leave anything out? Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Ladies, who's the voluntold up here?
I think that our conversation was similar to many other people who have already shared. Our biggest challenge is staff and time, and we have made an unwavering commitment to the social emotional well-being of our staff and students through class catalyst mindful practices, and also looking at what are we doing with the time that we have students during the school day. So after school tutoring has been very challenging to staff. We know that our students in particular come to school not having what other students have. So starting with kindergarten, we need to do something different. We look at our academic and our social results and we see we're not getting what we feel we should be sending our kindergarten students on to the next grade with. And so that becomes a compounded issue. So this coming school year, we've been working all year long with our staff to come up with a plan for our kindergarten instructional delivery, where our most specialized staff is in the kindergarten classroom with the teachers for ELA and math. And so we are hoping that that will help to complement the tutoring, and we hope to find some other ways to offer the tutoring also.
Thank you so much. We're winding down to the end. We have a back row here. Would anybody like to share?
Yeah, in our table we talk about using tutoring, and I know that 2 of us use paper, and the other 2 do tutoring also, whether it's on partnerships or the teachers. When we did the contract with paper, we were very intentional that we needed to have also bilingual tutors because we do have 40% EL, paper came through. They do have the languages that we asked for. And I think we're working probably on one more, the Somali. Because when we signed the contract, I'm the one who say, can't do it. We got 40% of the kids ELs who speak a different language. Therefore, having the access 24 hours for our students, it is great. And I will tell you that the money for paper for us did not come out from ESSER. The mayor of Boston gave us $100 million to hire social workers, to hire psychologists, to hire family engagement, to hire more psychologists. So we have placed a staff to deal with the social emotional learning. And I know that did not come out because when we look at the budget, we said we want this to sustain. So I know it has been this year. I'm waiting for the data and see, but I know that all the kids have access. And as I mentioned before, I'm a huge advocate for kids who are marginalized, and this was huge for me, for our English learners population, and also for kids who are either in a special ed or they have been hospitalized. They have the access to tutoring. And what I have heard from kids, especially ELs, is that they can have a composition that they don't understand, and when they are dealing with a tutor who is bilingual, they can understand. So, thank you.
And that's very important, right? Because we forget sometimes when you're learning a second language, we concentrate so much on teaching them English that we forget they also need to learn that content. And so keeping in mind that if you can continue learning the content, once you learn that language, it's going to be a smoother transition. And I speak as an EL myself. And so that's really important. So thank you for that.
Thank you to everybody who shared. I know we are right up against time, so we apologize for the abbreviated wrap-up, but we are paper. You will see us during speed dating if you're interested in talking more about this subject. If you've heard your colleagues here share something that either resonates with you as a challenge or you also have solved, share out. So please go ahead and do that.
And we're here for you. So you want to have a poolside conversation? Let us know. Thank you, everybody.